Good morning, everyone. It is 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, October 8th. This is Training Wheels. It's a gathering around the lessons of A Course in Miracles as described through my book, Training Wheels. And we take a combination of my words, which aren't really mine. They were pretty much downloaded in absolute joy as I wrote about my experiences doing the daily lessons of A Course, and just direct quotes from A Course in Miracles. So we're here today, even though we are in various degrees along the path. Maybe we've practiced these lessons once, maybe we've gone through them 100 times. Probably not 100, but maybe 10, 12, however long you've been doing them. But each time we do them, we get something new from them. And so today we are on lesson 4. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just turn your screen off. I'm going to turn my screen off and just sit, and we'll do the lesson together. Just listen, and I'll take you through everything. And then we'll have some time afterwards, and we'll talk about how things go for you. All right. This is lesson 4. Take your seat. Feel yourself comfortably wherever you are. Don't worry about anything. It's possible that my computer will freeze up. I'll just keep talking. If it does, I apologize. So we sit. Nothing I see means anything. I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I do not understand anything I see. And these thoughts do not mean anything. Welcome to lesson 4. This is one that begins our journey into mindfulness, or a form of meditation. This particular exercise, as with all exercises, should be simple and gentle. It doesn't really ask too much. In fact, the most difficult thing about this lesson is that you're required or asked or invited to lay aside all judgment. And you may ask, judgment about what? And the answer is judgment about yourself, judgment about the thoughts. The first 3 lessons asked us to focus on a world that seems to be outside. You open to the possibility that what you seem to see in the outer world may not be all there is. I do not understand anything I see. Lesson 4 takes us inside. We are now looking at what arises in our own mind. These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts I think do not mean anything. A great teacher once described meditation in the following way. He said, meditation is like pulling a chair into the center of an empty room. Then you sit in that chair and you simply watch all the characters that parade in front of you. This lesson number 4 is exactly that. We pull the chair up in the center of our mind and we watch all the thoughts that bubble up. A Course in Miracles tells us this is a major exercise. So what we'll do when I let us know that that's what we're going to do is we're going to just sit and pull the chair up into the center of our minds and practice watching thoughts bubble up. I want to say something about this practice because most of us are meditators already. We know that thoughts that come up might be happy or sad. We might notice any judgment that comes up. In this exercise, we're asked to tell ourselves, these thoughts do not mean anything. As you practice, you notice thoughts come and go, and you notice they're temporary. They may start out as one thing and then morph into something else. The difference may be subtle. They kind of dance from one thing into something else. And that's why they don't mean anything. They don't last, do they? They're merely arising in the space of awareness, which is the unchanging self you are. This practice of being aware of being aware takes us a bit more deeply into lesson 4, but we're ready for it. We can label these thoughts as temporary, changing, unreal, but we're asked now to step back a little further and recognize we are the open, infinite space, the awareness in which these thoughts arise and dance and go. But always we are that unchanging awareness. This is a major exercise. It seems simple and easy. But this is a foundational practice. We return to it over and over again. As we practice, as we sit, this is when the ego may take off its gloves. Sometimes in these practices, we have things arise that are very uncomfortable. This is the brilliance of the ego, doing its thing, trying to take you out of that infinite space I am. You may have thoughts of infinite death, terror, bodily shakes, but stay with the I am awareness. You may lose it, but you'll always come back to it because that's what you are. The I am space is your safe spot. It's always there. It's an island of peace. It's the altar, which is the holy, whole I self. So let's sit. We're asked to practice this lesson for 3 or 4 times today, just for 1 minute each time. If that suits you, that's fine, or you can do it all in one sitting. But now, just for now, I'll time us and we'll sit for about 5 minutes. Watch what arises. Place everything on the altar of the I am. And we begin. When you're ready, come on back. There are a couple more things I would just want to say. A Course in Miracles tells us that thoughts are powerful. In one breath, A Course tells us that thoughts have effects. And in the other breath, it says these thoughts don't mean anything. There is a bit of a paradox there. But if we dig more deeply, A Course also tells us to become aware of the thoughts we think with God. What does that mean? Let not my mind deny the thought of God. This is a beautiful discernment, and it's part of the reason that we do this mind training and that we sit and we watch the thoughts that come up. We become familiar with our thoughts. We become familiar with the way that the egoic creation, which is created from the absolute and has its own brilliance, will try to usurp our thought process and insert itself in between the thoughts we think with God and the thoughts that the ego thinks. This is why silence and discernment are so valuable. As we spend more time in silence, watching thoughts arise, and placing ourselves back into the I am presence, knowing we are the I am presence in which all thoughts arise, we begin to develop a stronger and stronger connection and familiarity with this I am presence. And then we begin to see what arises there. And that's the practice, and that's where we begin to discern the thoughts we think with God. So we are on lesson 4 here. We are just in the beginning, but most of us are fairly accomplished practitioners, so I thought I would take us a little bit further. And that's really all I have to say about lesson 4. I'd like to open it up for discussion, share your experiences, share anything you want. We're all teachers here. We're all students and teachers, so let's open it up. Good morning, Libby.
Good morning, Amy. Thank you so much for that. What actually came up for me this morning and has come up for me, the nothing means anything except the meaning that I give it is really important for me. And for decades, well, ever since I was a teenager, I thought that my physical appearance, my body needed to look different, which got me kind of real close to sort of anorexic tendencies, and totally, the physical discomfort caused by trying to control a lot of digestive issues, those kind of things. And, and because I thought it had to be different in order to get any kind of validation. And, and what has really been coming through for me over the past few months is that this body is really a vessel for the I am to express itself through. And so this morning, I actually said, there's a wonderful prayer in the program, one of the recovery programs that I'm in, where I asked the relief from the bondage of things. And so this morning, it really came clear, please relieve me of the bondage of the thoughts and beliefs I have around my body, that I may be open for you to express yourself and play and, do whatever you want to do. And, one thing that was really helpful, I got away from my singing when my alcoholism got really out of hand, and I haven't really gotten back into it, and I judge it. And then one night it occurred to me, it's not me singing. I'm not singing. My higher power is using me to sing through and to play through. And it's just for me to keep everything as clear and open as possible. And so getting to sit with this was just a really good exercise and lesson for me this morning. So I just wanted to share that. So, so much.
Thank you, Livy. It is such a relief to when we realize that there really is no person and that there really is no body either. Helen Hamilton did a phenomenal job of that in her book that I'm reading. The body's nothing but space. It's just space. It's a bunch of cells and molecular structures and atomic structures. And there's more space between those atomic structures than there is actually any matter. It's nothing. And yet we give it so much meaning, don't we? Right. And so I loved your words about play and just letting spirit move through what appears to be this body and play with it, right? It's meant to be enjoyed, right? That's its purpose, really, is to be enjoyed. That's what Source wants to do, is to play in the body. And in order to play in the finite body, it has to convince itself that's what it is. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any game. Right? So here we are, playing together. Thank you, Livy. Cindy.
I just wanted to say thank you, Livy. I've been watching Body Thoughts and Feeling Fat. And even though I don't kind of believe it, or like none of my thoughts mean anything, it's like there's a distorted view of whatever's going on every time I look in the mirror, of being too big for anyone to care about. There's a lot of family history around that, but just listening to you, just I'll be able to hold that, and we're all just looking for balance. I'm feeling it inside here. So thoughts are a funky thing, you know. My friend Michelle, who's in the room right now, she likes to send me texts like after all these meetings going, man, do you look gorgeous today? And there's something about those words that I don't believe, but I'm practicing taking in. So, hey, Livy, you look gorgeous today. That's
Mm.
all I have for right now.
So do you, my friend.
Yes, indeed. Both of you, everyone here.
Yeah.
Everyone here is beautiful. You know, it's a particular affliction that I think some women have. If you sit for a moment and contemplate how much time you spend thinking about your physical appearance and trying to control it and make it be something it's not, that's all time that could be spent in different ways. And our society definitely tells both women and men that if you don't look a certain way, that you're not valuable. So it's a really interesting field we find ourselves in, you know, this field of judgment and self-judgment. And so it's good that these thoughts don't mean anything and to think about that. It's good to feel happy with yourself and be happy with yourself. And notice when you're judging. And everyone here is beautiful. Really beautiful. Richard's going to tell us he loves us, and we're going to tell him we love him.
Everyone, as the only male, I don't, I recognize what you're all talking about because we want to play with women and men judge who they want to play with by how they look. And that's a human experience, but that's all an illusion, right? So what I've been reacquainted with recently is the idea of the observer, that in order to be in the right mind and the Course in Miracles, you have to rise out of the dream and be above the battleground. And in order, when you do that, when you also pair up with the Holy Spirit of Jesus, and you find the stillness that you are in truth, and then you're in your right mind. And from the right mind, you can then extend the love that light you are to anyone. So what I found interesting recently was a reminder of what I had heard years ago about being in the theater watching the movie. So you're in the theater and you're sitting with Jesus or the Holy Spirit and you're watching the movie of your life on the screen. And from this point of view, if you were in the movie theater or watching the movie, you watch it with unjudgmental, non-judgmental awareness. In other words, you don't judge anything in the movie, you just watch it. And if you're triggered, as a person in the theater, then you turn to the left and choose the ego thought system and run down that rabbit hole, believing that what you're seeing on the movie is real and you identify with it. But when you realize you're in the wrong mind and the ego thought system, then you choose again and turn to the right, which is Jesus or the Holy Spirit. And then you enter the stillness once again and you realize you are I am. And from that point of view, you can then extend the love that you are to every character in the dream, on the movie, through non-judgmental awareness. So I'm practicing that every day now, and it makes it easier for me to accept when I hear a lesson like lesson 4. These thoughts don't mean anything. That's because they're not real. They're part of the illusion. They're I'm part of the illusion. We're all part of the illusion. But beyond that is what we're trying to see, or what I'm trying to see, is the Christ in everything I see, not the body. So we're talking about the body this, the body that. Well, the body's a dream. Body's not real, like Amy was saying. Is there really matter? Is a space, more space than it is form. So I'm finding it much easier to deal with that truth by being above the battleground and viewing everything in the dream as a movie. And I was just watching the movie, and I'm trying not to judge it, and I'm trying not to identify with it. But my challenge is, and I love what Libby said, my challenge is, as Richard, a dream figure in the movie, I want to clarify, purify my mind to a point where I'm an excellent vessel for the shining of the truth that I am in truth, the love that I am in truth. And that gives a meaning to my dream figure in the dream. But it's still a dream figure in a dream. So it's not real. So the thoughts it has are not real. And so that way I can kind of shrug it off and laugh when I identify myself as a dream figure in the dream. And I go, wake up, Richard. You're not the dream. You were the dreamer of the dream, not the character in the dream. So love you all. Love this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. So if we look at thoughts, they really are just objects arising on the screen. There's really nothing to them. Most thoughts have to do with the past or with the future. If we remain in the present moment, that's why thoughts don't mean anything. The past is gone, the future is not here. If we sit in the present moment, oftentimes there's just stillness. There are no thoughts. And the dream figure that thinks it's thinking its thoughts, once seen in the light of truth, dissolves. And we see it over and over and over again. And slowly the dream figure becomes less and less and less solid. And we go back into the dream, and then we remember it's a dream. And we go back into the dream, and then we remember it's a dream. Francis Lucille says it's ignorance, and then we awaken. It's ignorance, and then we awaken. But one of the greatest freedoms we can have is the recognition that our thoughts are just thoughts, and that they're not true. Right? And one thought taken as truth leads to another thought, and then another thought. And then we have a story that develops, and we get lost in the story, right? And then we wake up. Oh, gosh, I've gotten lost in that story. That's when we don't judge, right? Oh, good for me. I just woke up. I like that I woke up. I want to do that again, right? I like waking up, right? Reinforcing Instead of judging, oh God, I fell asleep again, darn. No, I just woke up. Gosh, how great is that? I'm sure I'll go to sleep again, but I'm going to wake up again. And each time I wake up, the interval between going to sleep, being in ignorance, and waking up, and being in the knowing I am, those become shorter and shorter. And I'm not saying it happens in a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, but slowly but surely, for some people, it does happen just like that. But for a lot of us, it's dipping the cloth in the truth over and over and over again, dipping the cloth and dipping the cloth. And that is okay, because that is source having fun with itself, right? So be a blessing to yourself, your big self, right? And congratulate yourself every time you realize you've gone asleep again, right? Right? Be happy with yourself, right? No. And there will be times, as Barbara knows full well, she is our great teacher in this, when that I am space becomes open to the egoic mind doing everything it can to get you to go to sleep again, because it becomes painful. And it isn't really painful, it's just powerful. Right? The egoic mind is going to take out every tool it can to get you to go back to sleep again, because it won't feel good. But the I am space can hold anything. There is nothing it cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Whole I-ness, wholeness, the I am, that empty, open, infinite space holds everything. And the ego will throw everything it can at it and try and follow you into that I am space and snatch it away from you. But this is why we sit. This is why we have this constant stepping back into the I am awareness, into that holy space, which is pure, pristine, infinite, and completely at peace. Right? This is the practice. So 3 or 4 times today, if you can remember to remember, and you will remember, just stop and take a few breaths and reflect. What are the thoughts that have been coming up in awareness now? Do these thoughts mean anything? Who cares about the thought? Who is concerned about the thought? Who thinks the thought is true? Just take a moment 3 or 4 times today and give yourself that blessing. Barbara, good morning.
Okay, thank you for writing this book, because it's a lot, you put it in simpler terms than the big book that I was so confused over. This makes it simpler, because thoughts really don't matter. even good or bad or whatever. Because I remember prior to this year, I used to tear myself down. I hated myself, my body, whatever. Sorry. But then Cindy and Rona had that 7-day class on 40 days or whatever. And it's like, I said to myself, I said, hey, you look pretty good. I love you. I said, I got battle scars all over my body. And I used to hate the scars. But that meant I went through something and I came out of it. So I love this class, and everybody is my teacher. And I just love when it's put in simpler terms so this mind can understand it more simpler.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, the book by Helen Hamilton. It's upstairs. It's a very thin book, and it's just, I'll find it and I'll post it in our next, I'll post it. I'll let everybody know. It is a great book, though. I think it was written in 2019. It's very thin. It's very to the point. Maybe Cindy, I'll do a book club on Helen Hamilton's book. Shall I do that? Cindy's frozen. Yeah, I
I
think
say
she.
yes.
Okay. All right. I'll work with Cindy and we'll do a book club. We'll do a reading on Helen Hamilton's book. All right, we'll start that one up. Okay, I'm getting a yes, we'll do it. Let us know, let Cindy know what times work best for you so that we can figure out a good time. Yeah, and so if there is no one else that wants to share, I would say thank you all for being here. We'll see you later on this afternoon for 12-stepping. I think that's what it is. And until then, go with God.
That was a shy hummingbird. Let me stop this.